Now get ready for one more special presentation by our special speaker, Amy Seesequasis, Director of Public Education with the Office of the Treaty Commissioner in Saskatchewan. Amy will share with us the origins of the Metis Jig. She'll also involve us in a brief demonstration, so it will give us a chance to stretch our legs and awaken a new set of muscles. You can find Amy's comprehensive bio in the chat. Thank you for joining us, Amy. Now over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy Seesequasis, and I'm coming to you from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is in Treaty 6 territory and the traditional territory of the Nehiawak, as well as the homeland of the Michif. I am a member of the Beardies and Okamasas Cree Nation, which is in Treaty 6 territory. I identify as a Nehiaw Esquel, which is a Cree woman, but I do have Métis lineage. And so my Métis lineage comes from my paternal grandmother's side, as well as my paternal grandfather's side. My great-grandmother was a Métis from the Métis settlement of Saint Laurent, which is by Duck Lake, Saskatchewan, and she married a Cree man from Beardies. My Métis lineage, if I was not recognized as a status and a member of a treaty signatory band and recognized under the Canadian government as a status Indian, I would have Métis status, as I've been able to trace my lineage 5 generations to the first Métis settlement, which is Red River in Manitoba. My great-great-grandfather was Patrice Fleury, who was known as the right-hand man to Gabriel Dumont. So my family origins are not only Cree, but also Métis. And I grew up in a family that was very proud to be both Cree and Métis. And so the connections between both have allowed me to have an identity as a Cree person, as a Métis person. And I'm very proud of those identities. And I'm very thankful to the conference organizers for inviting me here today to share that. I do have a short video that I'm going to ask that the event coordinator shows. And this video is to give you a little intro into my background, because I am the general manager of the Cree-land Dancers. And this group was founded by my Kukum and Wisham, which is Cree for grandmother and grandfather, in the early 1980s. And the Cree-land Dancers are Canada's longest serving Indigenous square dance group. We call ourselves a square dance group because we do a lot of square dance reels and patterns in our dance forms, but we have a unique fusion of the Metis jigging combined, with traditional Metis dances and square dance patterns and reels, and a lot of contemporary dance forms as well, to tell the story of the Metis. And so I carry on that tradition for my Kukum and my late Musham, which they created this group to promote the culture, the art form of the Métis. And so we will show this very brief video of the dance group. So this event that we've highlighted here was for a National Indigenous Peoples Day event in the city of Regina, Saskatchewan. And so we've often been invited every year to their city. However, the past couple of years have just been virtual sessions due to the current global pandemic. However, we're still happy that people interact with the group and invite us. And so a lot of people have asked us over the years, because a lot of the group members do identify as Métis, but a lot of them identify as First Nations. And our group, although originates from that Beardies and Okamasis Cree Nation, the dancers come from various First Nations and Métis communities across the province of Saskatchewan. We do have some dancers that live in the province of Saskatchewan, but identify with the Moose Cree First Nation in Northern Ontario. So we do have dancers that come from that territory and bring their dance style from those territories to our group. And so people have often asked us, if you identify as First Nation, why do you dance the Metis Jig? And so that was an interesting question that was posed to me several years ago. And I thought, well, that's great. I'm glad somebody asked that, because it's very important and it's very valid. Because when we see a lot of online, a lot of the dancing that's taking place that is Metis jigging, we see a lot of First Nations people dancing those dances. And the reason being is because when we look at the ancestry of the Métis, it's based on, you know, the European settlers and the various Indigenous nations that were occupying these territories that we now call Canada, which was, you know, Turtle Island to us prior to contact and colonization. And so through these relationships, these kinships, and this sharing, this, you know, the cross-cultural sharing, we've created this very unique and distinct culture. And that culture is rooted in those various European ancestry, whether that's, you know, French or Irish or Scottish, Scandinavian. You have European ancestry mixed in with First Nations people, whether that's Cree, Anishinaabe, Dene. You've got various groups interacting. And so with the sharing of that culture, it does branch into both sides, both those ancestries. So you will have First Nations people dancing the Metis Jig because within their families, they have a lot of Metis lineage. And it's because of government legislations and laws put in place through numbered treaties that we don't have those relationships with Métis people. And particularly in the community I come from, the Beardies and Okamasis Cree Nation, where the Battle of Duck Lake took place, and a lot of incidents took place that really impacted the history of for Métis people and First Nations treaty signatory bands, because they were then labeled as these rebel bands for supporting their Métis brothers and sisters. But it was based on the spirit and intent of treaty, which was sharing the land and having relationships based on mutual benefits and sharing and relationship, strong relationship, and respecting each other. And so that's how, when we really look at the scope of why we see not only Métis people, but First Nations people doing the Métis Jig, it's rooted in that relationship and the foundation of that relationship and where it began in that cross-cultural sharing. And so when I look at the Métis Jig, I like to describe it as a kaleidoscope, because when you look at a kaleidoscope, it's beautiful and the pattern always changes. And you see all these very different pieces and structures, and none of them are the same, and they're unique and beautiful and distinct in their own way. And that is what all the various cultures are that make up the Métis. They all have their own distinct ways, their own, you know, their own cultures, their languages, their prayers, their songs, their dances, their spirituality, all those practices that make that culture unique and beautiful. And when you mix it with others and you share each other's cultures in a good way, you create what is that Métis Jig, because the jig is combined of that, the various footworks and patterns of First Nations pow dancing. So whether you're doing the fancy dance or the fancy bustle or the grass dance or the chicken dance, you're going to see those dance styles reflected with Métis jigging, because that's what you're mixing. And you're also going to see dance styles that reflect Irish jigging and Scottish jigging. I mean, Scottish dancing and Irish dancing, Scandinavian dancing. Why? Is because we've mixed those cultures, because there isn't just one type of Métis. My family identify as what is the Michif, and that is based on their language, where they speak both a mixture of English, French, and Cree, because they are French Cree Métis. And so there are different types of Métis. You might have Dene French Métis. You might have some Dene and Scottish. It all is based on those cultures that mixed, and the uniqueness of that. And so that's why I like to refer to the Métis Jig as a kaleidoscope. And so what I'm going to demonstrate for you is how to just do the basic Metis Jig step. And there is no right and wrong way to do the Metis Jig, because as I mentioned, it's based on your culture. It's based on that connection of different cultures. So I always tell people that the way they jig when it's taught to them and the way they respond to it is based on how they should respond to it. It's your body's natural, response to your own culture, to your own DNA, and what you feel inside. And so I will show you that basic step, and then I will do a demonstration for you of the Red River Jig. And many people refer to that as one of the, the anthems of the Métis in terms of one of the most popular dances. And so what the Métis Jig is, it's more of a competitive style dance where dancers will showcase their best steps. And those steps are usually reflective of their communities and their families and the different types of cultural groups and that have mixed within that specific type of Métis structure. So whether you're French Métis, like I had mentioned earlier, my family is. And so I will share that for you now. I'm going to lower my camera so that you can see my feet here. And so we don't need music yet, because what I'm just going to show you is quickly just the basic step. And one moment, I'm having quick wardrobe malfunction with my moccasins. Please hold on for a quick second.
She blew a moccasin.
So now I understand some of you might not be able to be dancing. Maybe you're sitting, you're at a desk, I'm not sure. But I'm sure you can still move your feet under your desk. So, or you can just take some notes if you like. And so with the basic jigging step, what you're doing is you're tapping. It's a lot of tapping and kicking. It's sort of like you're going to kick a ball. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your right foot and you're going to tap your toe forward once, bring it back and tap where it was, then kick back. So you're almost, it's going to look like kicking forward with the tap, kicking back. So then you take your left foot and you do the exact same thing, which is you're taking your tiptoe and you're sort of kicking it to the forward with a tap, and you're kicking it back to where your foot was next to the other foot on a tiptoe, then kicking your heel back. So what it's going to look like is and so when you do the hop, you're not necessarily going to fully touch your tiptoe, but it's going to allow you to give that little bit of a kick. So with the right foot, and it's always good to be on the tiptoe, because when you're going to start bouncing to the music, you need to have a little bit of that hop. So you're on your tiptoe and you kick forward. Some people need that little bit of an extra tap on the tiptoe so that they can get themselves back to this step, where they tap again and they kick back. And then you take the left foot and do the exact same thing, getting up on a tiptoe, kicking forward. If you want to tap, you can. If you need that extra bounce, come back to the foot where you were in the center, kick your heel back. So we're going to do it again. Tiptoe, kick forward, tap, kick back. Tiptoe, kick forward, tap, kick back. Tiptoe, kick forward, tap, kick back. So we're going to start that again, and we're going to add some hopping in there. So your tap, kick forward, tap, kick back. And then you have the basic jig. And so now what I will show you is a demonstration of the Red River Jig. I will now do for you a quick demonstration of the Orange Blossom Special. For having me here today with you guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm trying to catch my breath here, apologize. But yes, I'm going to put info in the chat for our website. So thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Miigwech, Amy. That was wonderful. I'm sure I'm not alone to say that we all really enjoyed your beautiful moves. Metis jigging and square dancing is obviously not as easy as you've made it look, but just as fun.